program sa Billionaire News kung saan sinabi niya kay current Ombudsman Remulla, "You work, stop conducting press conferences almost every day." Biro mo, hindi mo alam anong proseso sa isang kaso. Kaya kung minsan, nagmumukhang tanga yung ombudsman. So nagkakaano na po sila, nagkaka-insultuhan yung former and the current ombudsman natin. So anyway po, explain ko lang kung ano ba talaga tong rason, bakit na to umabot sila sa ganitong tawagan, and kung ano ba yung mga legal implications po so far sa actions ni Ombudsman Remulla at actions din po ni former Ombudsman Martires. Okay? So ito po pala lahat in relation lang to sa kaso ni Senator Joel Villanueva. Doon to lahat nag-escalate. Okay, so anyway po, explain ko yan lahat for today's video. So good day po my fellow taong bayan, and to start things off po, bibigyan ko na lang kayo ng history kung ano ba yung rason bakit nag-away to sila. Okay, so this started po nung sinabi ni Ombudsman Remulla na tatanungin daw niya si Senate President Soto para i-enforce yung 2016 dismissal order versus Senator Villanueva. Okay, so ito pong 2016 dismissal order, meron kasing decision po na nilabas yung former ombudsman before kay Ombudsman Martires na kung saan gusto niya ipa-dismiss si Senator Villanueva from office. Okay? So 2016 dismissal order po yan. And then nung nilabas po to, or nung sinabi po to ni Ombudsman Remulla sa press conference niya, sumagot naman po si Senator Joel Villanueva. Okay? So ang sinabi ni Senator Joel dito, yung may mga documents pong shinare si Senator Joel na na-dismiss na yung case against him noong 2019. Okay? So ito po yung pinaka-start talaga. And then after po nito, nung pinalabas po to ni Senator Joel, itong statement niya na to, ngayon, ang ginawa naman po ni Secretary Boying Remulla, nag-press conference po siya ulit. And then, ito naman po ang sinabi niya next. Yung decision daw po, yung 2019 decision ni former Ombudsman Martires dismissing the dismissal case dun kay Senator Joel was a surprise and secret decision. Diba? So, ayon kay Remulla, wala daw nakakaalam ng nasabing desisyon. And because it was a surprise and secret decision, hindi na daw niya itutuloy yung pag-urge or pagsabi kay Senate President Tito Soto na ipa-dismiss or implement yung dismissal order against Senator Joel Villanueva. Okay, so ulitin ko lang po, naging issue po to dahil dito sa surprise and secret decision. Kasi meron pong parang pinaparating si Ombudsman Remulla na tinago daw ni former Ombudsman Martires yung 2019 decision na yun. Kaya niya daw nasabi yung initial na yun, ipapasuspend niya kasi hindi niya pa alam na may 2019 pala na na-overturn nga yung dismissal order against Senator Joel. Okay, so yan po. And then yung next po dyan ngayon, ito naman po yung nangyari. Si former Ombudsman Samuel Martires naman po, sumagot din siya. Ang sabi naman po niya, "It is not the function of the Ombudsman to be conducting everyday a press conference. That this is what I did" daw. Na pinapakita daw ng Ombudsman na ito yung ginawa niya, "This is what I did" na press conference, which is yung ginagawa, di ba, ni Secretary or ni Ombudsman Remulla. And then, sabi niya, "Probably my successor now is doing it. But I did not want to be glorified at the expense of people whose guilt are not determined by the court." Okay? Until eventually, tahimik po yung mga nangyari niyan. Kasi tuloy-tuloy pa rin naman po, secret decision pa rin sinasabi ni Ombudsman Remulla. And then ito na po yung pinaka-latest, which is kahapon lang, October 27. Ang sabi na po dito ni former Ombudsman Martires, yun nga yung my advice to Ombudsman Remulla, if you are listening, you work, stop conducting press conferences almost every day. Biro mo, hindi mo alam ang proseso sa isang kaso. Kaya kung minsan nagmumukhang tanga yung ombudsman. Okay, so yun po yung facts ng discussion natin. Ang problem lang po, hindi ko na naabutan kung sumagot ba to si Ombudsman Remulla ngayong October 28 pero hindi ko na po maantay, so ginawan ko na lang ng video to. And ngayon, i-discuss ko na lang po sa inyo yung mga possible legal implications dito sa mga statements ni former Ombudsman Martires at ni Ombudsman Remulla. So to start po ang ating legal discussion, pupunta muna tayo sa Constitution. Okay? And yung question po natin for today, yung first question po natin is whether or not dapat ba talaga nagpapa-presscon ang isang ombudsman. So medyo natatawa lang po ako kasi yung bangayan po ng dalawa nating ombudsman, yung isa mahilig mag-presscon, yung isa ayaw mag-presscon, tapos yung isa ngayon sinasabi hindi daw trabaho ng ombudsman mag-presscon na mag-presscon. Pero anyway po, tingnan natin yung Constitution kung ano ba talaga sinasabi tungkol dyan sa mga press conference, okay? And for that po, we will go to the 1987 Constitution pa rin po kasi ito naman yung Constitution natin ngayon. And then Article 11, Accountability of Public Officers. Tapos pupunta lang po tayo niyan sa baba sa mga provisions ng Ombudsman. And to be specific po, nandito yan sa Section 13. The Office of the Ombudsman shall have the following powers, functions, and duties. So ito po yung mga basic function, investigate, direct, so on and so forth. And yung important pong iti-take note natin dito is this one, yung number 6. So kung makikita po ninyo, ang nakalagay dito, publicize matters covered by its investigation when circumstance so warrant and with due prudence. Okay, so itong provision na to, nasa Ombudsman Law din po to, sa Republic Act 6770. So ipakita ko na lang din po before ko i-explain sa inyo. So ito po, Republic Act 6770, an act providing for the functional and structural organization of the Office of the Ombudsman and for other purposes. In other words, ito po yung Ombudsman Law natin. And then, pupunta lang po tayo niyan dito sa functions of the Ombudsman. So yan po, Section 15. Powers, functions, and duties. The Office of the Ombudsman shall have the following powers, functions, and duties. And then sa number 6 po, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 yung important kasi ito rin po yung nagsasabi about publicized matters covered by its investigation. Ito po actually halos same lang din to dun sa Constitution pero nilagay po mismo sa isang Republic Act din. So makita po nyo sa Constitution and then sa Ombudsman Law, RA 6770, meron pong duty to publicize depende on the circumstances on a case-to-case basis. Okay? And then ngayon po ipakita ko rin sa inyo yung rules of procedure din po ng Ombudsman. So ito naman po is Administrative Order number 7, the rules of procedure of the Office of the Ombudsman. So pupunta lang po tayo niyan sa may dulo. Dito po nakalagay yung publication din. So ito po, Section 2, Public Disclosure Exemptions. So this is Rule 5 po, Rule 5, Section 2. So when circumstances so warrant and with due prudence, the Office of the Ombudsman may publicize in a fair and balanced manner the filing of a complaint, grievance, or request, so on and so forth. So kung makita po ninyo sa Constitution, sa Ombudsman Law, then sa Rules of Procedure din po ng Ombudsman, meron pong right to publish ang Ombudsman na mga ginagawa niyang bagay-bagay sa office niya. Okay? However, hindi po yun absolute kasi depende po on a case-to-case basis kung kailangan ba talaga i-publish yung mga decisions or yung mga actions po ng Ombudsman. So yung question po natin kung pwede ba talaga or dapat ba mag-presscon si Ombudsman Remulla. So una po dyan, pwede talaga mag-presscon po si Ombudsman Remulla because as what I have showed you, meron pong right or power or duty ang Ombudsman to publish or to publicize po yung mga ginagawa niyang bagay subject to the circumstances on a case-to-case basis. Okay? So yung next question na lang po natin, tama ba na everyday nagpapa-presscon yung Ombudsman? Okay? So kasi nasagot na po natin, di ba, na okay lang mag-presscon. So ngayon, ang next, dapat ba or tama lang ba na everyday? So kung ako po tatanungin ninyo, as long as yung mga press conference po na ginagawa ng Ombudsman is pasok dun sa duties and functions niya na covered nitong Rule 5 Section 2 and ito pong Section 15 and the Constitution, yung paragraph 6, as long as ito po yung napapag-usapan talaga niya, yung mga nakalagay dito sa mga provisions na to, ay wala pong problema yan kahit araw-araw mag-presscon ang isang Ombudsman. Ang posible lang pong magka-problema dyan ay kung iba na yung napapag-usapan at hindi na talaga pasok dun sa functions and duties niya as an Ombudsman. Okay? So i-rephrase ko lang po. Pwede mag-publish or mag-press conference ang isang Ombudsman kasi that is allowed by the Constitution natin, the Ombudsman Law, and the Rules of Procedure of the Ombudsman. Pwede rin naman po kung kahit na araw-araw yan nagawin yung press conference ng Ombudsman as long as pasok po siya dun sa functions and duties niya. Okay? So kung iba na po yung napapag-usapan, naging maritesa na po. Ayan po ngayon, ako tatanungin ninyo, is questionable already na press conference. Okay? So yan po yung first question natin. And then ngayon po, for our second question, sagutin ko naman po at explain sa inyo kung whether or not secret ba talaga yung 2019 decision ni Ombudsman Martires sa pag-reverse nung dismissal decision against Senator Joel Villanueva. And for that po, ang titingnan pa rin po natin is Rule 5 Section 2 of the Rules of Procedure of the Ombudsman. Okay, so Administrative Order number 7 pa rin po tayo. So kung makikita po ninyo, Public Disclosure Exemption Section 2. So yung main words po talaga na iti-take note natin dito is when circumstances so warrant and with due prudence, the Office of the Ombudsman may publicize in a fair and balanced manner the filing of a complaint, so on and so forth, pati po final resolution, decision, or action taken thereon. And then yung next po, ito, important din po natin i-take note, provided however that prior to such final action, no publicity shall be made of matters which may adversely affect national security or public interest, prejudice the safety of witnesses or the disposition of the case, or unduly expose persons complained against to ridicule or public censure. Okay? So kung titingnan po ninyo, hindi po mandatory na i-publish yung lahat ng decisions ng Ombudsman. Kasi yung main po i-consider dyan yung mga circumstances surrounding the case, and then whether or not matter of national security or public interest ba ang isang kaso, and then yung isa pa po na titingnan dyan is kung whether or not mariridicule ba or mapapahiya ang mga tao or parties in the case. So yan lang po ang gusto ko i-point out talaga. Hindi po mandatory na i-publish lahat ng decisions kasi it will be looked at on a case-to-case basis. Okay? And if you ask me po, ang makakasagot lang dyan kung dapat ba i-publish ng Ombudsman yung decision niya is the Ombudsman himself or herself. Diba? Kasi paglabas po niya ng decision niyan, siya ngayon yung makakakita talaga nung complete picture based on his professional expertise and based on his discretion kung whether or not dapat ba ipaalam sa public yung mga decisions na to. So in other words po, kung sasagutin natin yung specific question na whether or not meron ba talagang secret decision na ginawa si Ombudsman Martires, ang sagot po doon ay wala naman po. Kasi again, discretionary po sa Ombudsman kung ipapublish ba niya or hindi yung mga decisions na nire-render niya. Okay? So stated differently po, porket hindi pinublish ni Ombudsman Martires yung decision, ay hindi po ibig sabihin na secret decision yon. Hindi po yun ganon. Kasi again, publication po is discretionary only and hindi po yan siya mandatory na gawin talaga ng Ombudsman. And idagdag ko na lang din po, as long as nabigyan po ng notice or ng copy ng decision yung parties to the case, then that is already sufficient publication kasi at least na-notified po yung mga parties affected talaga sa kaso. And ngayon po magbibigay na lang ako ng personal remarks and observations ko po so far dito sa bangayan ng dalawa nating ombudsmen. Okay? So unang-una po dyan, ang masasabi ko, dapat po sana ito silang dalawa, they should always act in a professional manner when speaking. Lalo na po si Ombudsman Remulla, if you ask me. Kasi si Ombudsman Remulla po, he is still currently a sitting ombudsman, diba? Therefore, he is an active public servant po. Si Ombudsman Martires po, si former Ombudsman Martires or si retired former Ombudsman Samuel Martires, siya po pwede natin actually ma-excuse na sa mga professionalism kasi retired na nga po siya, hindi na siya nagtatrabaho. Okay, pero anyway po, yung main point ko dito is that dapat po ito silang dalawa, since lawyers naman po sila, they're all public servants, although yung isa former public servant na, they should always act in a professional manner, okay, in relation to their profession as being a lawyer. Okay? At yung point ko po dyan, pag abogado ka po kasi, if you make statements or you make allegations, yung next step po talaga dapat dyan, meron kang legal basis to back up those statements or allegations ninyo. Okay? Otherwise po, kung magsasabi ka lang, tas puro haka-haka, puro maritesan lang, mahirap po yan, and that is very unprofessional po in the lawyering profession. So anyway po, my main point here is that since si Ombudsman Remulla po yung nag-allege na may secret decision, edi kung ako po tatanungin ito po is my very humble and respectful opinion, edi dapat po sana in-explain ni Ombudsman Remulla kung bakit nag-constitute yun siya as secret decision. Diba? Because again, he was the one who alleged that the 2019 decision po of former Ombudsman Martires is a secret decision. Pero anyway, isingit ko po kasi medyo natawa po ako dito Kung ako nga po sana, dapat tinawag to ni Ombudsman Remulla na ghost decision para sana mas naka-pick up siya ng headlines if you ask me. Okay, but anyway po, going back to the discussion, since si Ombudsman Remulla po yung nag-allege ng secret decision, edi sana in-explain niya po yun with legal basis kung paano siya nag-constitute as secret decision. Diba? Kasi like what I explained earlier, hindi po mandatory na lahat ng decisions ng Ombudsman ay dapat i-publish. Diba? It is discretionary and subject to the circumstances on a case-to-case basis. Pero yun nga po, since wala namang in-explain clearly dito si Ombudsman Remulla na kung bakit yun siya nag-constitute as secret decision, dun po natin nakita ngayon yung naging resulta nun na nagkaroon ng bangayan, di ba? Tapos ngayon tinawag na nagmumukha daw tanga yung ombudsman ni former Ombudsman Martires, di ba? But anyway po, going back, my main point lang sana talaga is that since they are both lawyers, then they should always act in a professional manner na magmumukha po talaga silang professional at mga abogado, di ba? So one of which nga po, if you make allegations, you should always have a legal basis. Kasi yan po yung tinuturo sa amin sa law school, first year law student pa lang, di ba? Otherwise, magiging maritesan po yung mangyayari. Okay, so yan lang po yung una kong gusto i-share. Dapat po sana professional sila. They should remember that they are both lawyers, so they should act like lawyers when handling or when talking to the press. Especially po yung mga offices involved nila ay also involved in the legal profession, di ba? Kasi yung ombudsman nga is the protector of the people in relation to graft and corrupt practices, and then one of the requirements pa po to being an ombudsman is you must be engaged in the practice of law for at least 10 years. So in short po, big deal talaga yung pagiging abogado sa opisinang yan. So dapat they should always carry themselves in a lawyer-like manner every time they speak or act as the ombudsman. Okay? Ombudsman Remulla, baka magalit po kayo sa akin Peace be with you po. I am just expressing my freedom of speech in relation to your actions po as a public servant in relation to your office, the office of the ombudsman. Okay? So peace be with you po Bye-bye.